Tonight, the time before time began, the universe, black holes, God and the laws of science. Professor Stephen Hawking, Dr. Carl Sagan and Arthur C. Clarke discuss the mysteries man faces as he starts to explore the stars. Dreadful disabilities prevent Stephen Hawking from speaking a word, but he's risen above them to become a brilliant mathematician and teacher. Using a computer-driven voice synthesizer, he's told the world how the universe began, and now he's seeking the ultimate theory of how it works. Arthur C. Clarke invented the communication satellite long before the technology existed to launch one. That vision of the future fathered the global village. His novels and stories, including 2001: A Space Odyssey, have inspired a generation of real-life astronauts. Carl Sagan sent man's first messages to the stars aboard NASA space probes. He's sure we're not alone in the cosmic wilderness. Dr. Sagan joined our discussion from Cornell University in New York State, so I checked whether he could hear us over one of Arthur's satellites.
Yes, communication satellite technology is working very well, thank you.
Arthur, can you hear all right?
I can hear fine.
And Professor Hawking, are you in touch with Carl Sagan?
Yes.
Professor Hawking, in fact, has just made publishing history by writing a book about hard theoretical science which has outsold even Michael Jackson in the bestseller lists. It's called A Brief History of Time, and we'll be talking about the concepts that are in it. Now, Stephen Hawking is engaged in a search for the ultimate answer, a grand, unified theory that would explain everything. Stephen Hawking, that is quite an agenda. How are you getting on with it?
In the last 300 years, we have discovered the laws that govern the universe in all but the most extreme conditions. I think there is a reasonable chance that we may find a complete set of laws by the end of the century if we don't blow ourselves up first. If we do find a complete unified theory, it will be a great triumph, not just for scientists, but for ordinary people as well. In time, the unified theory would be simplified and taught in schools, at least in outline. Then, everyone would have some idea of how the universe works.
Well, that is a tremendous vision. Now, Carl Sagan, you wrote an introduction to the book, and one of the striking things that you said is that it's only children nowadays who ask the big questions because they don't know enough not to.
What I was trying to get across was the notion that the school systems, it seems to me, have a attitude of discouragement of asking fundamental questions. If a 5 or 6 year old asks why the moon is round or why grass is green, the usual adult answer, at least in my experience, is to discourage the child. Say, what shape did you expect the moon to be? Square? Or what color did you expect the grass to be? Blue? Instead of saying that those are interesting questions, let's try to find out the answer, or maybe nobody knows the answer, and when you grow up, you'll be able to discover the answer. It would be very healthy for the human species if there were less discouragement and more scientists.
Arthur Clarke.
One of the reasons why I write science fiction is because it does free the imagination and does inspire people to become scientists and astronauts. Many astronauts have made me feel a very old man by coming up and saying to me, you know, your books turned me on when I was a small boy.
Run like a circle in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel. never ending or beginning, on an ever-spinning reel, like a snowball down a mountain, or a carnival balloon, like a carousel that's turning, running rings around the moon, like a clock whose hands are sweeping past the minutes of its face, and the world is like an apple whirling silently in space, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind, like a tunnel you can follow to a tunnel of its own, down a hollow to a cavern where the sun has never shone, like a door that keeps revolving in a half-forgotten dream, or the ripples from a pebble someone tosses in a stream, like a clock whose hands are sweeping past the minutes of its face, and the world is like an apple whirling silently in space, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind. Keys that jingle in your pocket, words that jangle in your head. Why did summer go so quickly? Was it something that you said? Lovers walk along the shore and leave their footprints in the sand. Was the sound of distant drumming just the fingers of your hand? Pictures hanging in a hallway and the fragment of a song. Half remembered names and faces, but to whom do they belong? When you knew that it was over, you were suddenly aware that the autumn leaves were turning to the color of her hair. A circle in a spiral, a wheel within a wheel, never ending or beginning, on an ever-spinning reel, as the images unwind, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind.
I don't think that physics tell us how to behave to our neighbors.
Ah.
Well, physics may determine who our neighbors are and on what planets they live.
Well, you said science should be skeptical of politics. Don't you think we ought to be a little skeptical about science, too? I mean, can we trust you guys?
I think you should certainly be skeptical, but my view is that there's no community of people on the planet more skeptical than science. It's our stock in trade. It's the lifeblood of our subject.
Science is a self-correcting subject, not like politics.
Well, politics is corrected by other forces.
Carl and Dan, you two strike me as a couple of true believers who are no more willing to question the theory that you base your beliefs on than were the ministers of the 19th century whom you so roundly criticize as being closed-minded. I'd like to raise a couple of questions and see how you respond.
Sure, fire away.
Regarding this theory. Number one, how do you explain the switch from asexual reproduction to sexual reproduction?
Well, first off, let me say that in no way challenges the validity of biological evolution, whether we're able or unable to explain the fact that many species, by no means all, reproduce sexually today. The Darwinian concept of evolution and natural selection is profoundly verified, not just by the fossil record.
Well, where are fossils in transition,
excuse me. Not just by the clear experience of artificial selection, but by the record in the nucleic acids, which is obtained by DNA sequencing, in which we can see the similarities and differences of organisms and trace their evolutionary past,
in other words, you got this
history.
Theory with a gaping hole in it.
There's no gaping.
It doesn't cause you to question the theory.
There's no gaping holes. You're talking about the absence of intermediate forms in the fossil record.
That was one problem.
The fossil record. Well, let's talk about each thing that you have problems with. If there's time. Well, just a minute. You know, you raise one, and then when I'm about to answer it, you rush off to the next. Let's do them one at a time. The fossil record is necessarily incomplete because of the processes of erosion, but particularly, it seems to me...
And all the fossils in transition got picked off.
Sir, nobody said all the fossils.
You're going to
lots of intermediate forms.
You're going to have to put aside your creationist primer for a moment and either listen to the answers that you raised. Well, sir, I will thank you for the call, but I think it would be unproductive to continue because our caller, I fear, is too ready to do battle rather than to listen.
But what's the danger of all this? I mean, you know, this is not the thing that...
There's two kinds of dangers. One is what I just talked about, that we've arranged a society based on science and technology in which nobody understands anything about science and technology. And this combustible mixture of ignorance and power, sooner or later, is going to blow up in our faces. I mean, who is running the science and technology in a democracy if the people don't know anything about it? And the second reason that I'm worried about this is that science is more than a body of knowledge. It's a way of thinking, a way of skeptically interrogating the universe with a fine understanding of human fallibility. If we are not able to ask skeptical questions, to interrogate those who tell us that something is true, to be skeptical of those in authority, then we're up for grabs for the next charlatan, political or religious, who comes ambling along. It's a thing that Jefferson lay great stress on. It wasn't enough, he said, to enshrine some rights in a constitution or a Bill of Rights. The people had to be educated, and they had to practice their skepticism and their education. Otherwise, we don't run the government. The government runs us.
There are a group of people that absolutely and honestly believe in 2016 the Earth is flat.
PPAP. I have a pen. I have an apple. Apple pen. I have a pen. I have pineapple. Pineapple pen. Apple pen. Pineapple pen. Pen pineapple apple pen. Pen pineapple apple pen.
Now you're just splitting hairs.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah,
You're just splitting.
Okay, so now here's the thing. We live in a free country. I will never want to legislate what people think.
Mm-hmm.
You can think the craziest thoughts you want.
They do.
You should just never be responsible for creating legislation
Right.
that affect the rest of society. Legislation should be based on objective truths, not on some belief system you happen to have for yourself that others are in conflict with. So go ahead, think that. But if you try to then influence others, you're actually being irresponsible, and you are destabilizing the foundations of an informed democracy.
Absolutely. How excited are you about space these days? I think we're entering a whole new phase in space exploration.
Stand here, present some egghead scientific argument based on fact. I'm just a regular dude. I like to drink beer, you know, I love my family. Rock, flag, and eagle, right, Charlie? He's got a point. No, he doesn't. What? See, Charlie? These liberals are trying to assassinate my character. I can't change their mind. I won't change my mind, because I don't have to. Because I'm an American. I won't change my mind on anything, regardless of the facts that are set out before me. I'm dug in, and I'll never change.
Mac, look, you're wasting our time. You're not going to get us to not believe in evolution.
And why is that?
Because the smartest scientists in the entire world all agree that it's real.
I'm glad you brought that up. Because, Mr. Reynolds, science is a liar sometimes.
Oh, boy.
This is Aristotle, thought to be the smartest man on the planet. He believed that the Earth was the center of the universe, and everybody believed him because he was so smart. Until another smartest guy came around, Galileo, and he disproved that theory, making Aristotle and everybody else on Earth look like a bitch. Of course, Galileo then thought comets were an optical illusion, and there's no way that the moon could cause the ocean's tides. Everybody believed that because he was so smart. He was also wrong, making him and everyone else on Earth look like a bitch again. And then, best of all, Sir Isaac Newton gets born and blows everybody's nips off with his big brains. Of course, he also thought he could turn metal into gold and died eating mercury, making him yet another stupid bitch. Are you seeing a pattern?
No.
Mr. Reynolds, these were all the smartest scientists on the planet. Only problem is, they kept being wrong. Sometimes.
Oh, this is insane, you fool!
I'm a fool because I have more faith in the saints that wrote the Bible?
Yeah, because you just read the words of a bunch of guys that you never met, and you just take it on faith that everything they wrote was true.
And what makes you think what your scientists are writing is any more truer than my saints?
Because there are volumes of proven data, numbers, figures. There are fossil records.
Oh, fossil records. Ah! I didn't even think about the fossil records. I guess I'll concede. Oh, wait, one more thing before I do, Mr. Reynolds. Have you seen these fossil records?
Have I? Huh?
Have you poured through the data yourself? The numbers, the figures?
Well, no. No.
Oh, interesting. So let me get this straight, Mr. Reynolds. You get your information from a book written by men you've never met. And you take their words as truth, based on a willingness to believe, a desire to accept, a leap of, dare I say it, faith?
Come on. Look, I mean, I don't even know how I'm supposed to respond to that. Like, come on. That's a false equivalency.
Just answer the question, Mr. Reynolds.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
I rest my case.
Oh, that got me. Yeah.
Frank, do you want me to?
Put me over.
Yeah, all right.
What?
Well, we're going on the fence. I mean, that's a shadow of a doubt.
You actually don't believe in evolution anymore?
I don't know. He created a reasonable doubt. He makes you sound like a stupid science bitch.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, my God.
To the American scientist, teacher, author, television communicator, Carl Sagan. He died today. The country loses a great enthusiast. He helped millions of us to see farther and understand what we were seeing.
That means, at the very least, that there's a source of water on the moon.
Only 2 weeks ago, he told Ted Koppel he was confident he was getting better.
I'm terrific. I've been very, very lucky, and it looks like I'm out of the woods.
We will miss Carl Sagan. Americans were first introduced to Dr. Sagan, the astronomer, back in the 1970s. The moonshots were finished as NASA embarked on less glamorous projects. But Carl Sagan was able to keep public interest alive by making it also appealing. He wrote 30 books, won a Pulitzer Prize. The author and astronomer became a regular on The Tonight Show.
You want to go exploring? And
the New York Public Library is where a young Carl Sagan first discovered astronomy, and by the time he was 26, he had earned his doctorate in astrophysics. He taught first at Harvard while working for NASA. He moved on to Cornell to begin a 30-year career as a teacher. Dr. Sagan was convinced that we are not alone in the universe. He said he would hate to die and never know for sure. But he died this morning in Seattle from pneumonia, the complication of a bone marrow transplant. At 62, a short life for a science teacher who's done a lot to put life in perspective.
I believe our future depends powerfully on how well we understand this cosmos in which we float like a mote of dust.
And so we choose, obviously, Carl Sagan. From when I was a little kid, he said the only thing I really wanted to be was a scientist, to interrogate nature. That's where the fun is. And that's what he helped us discover as well, Carl Sagan, who died today.
Just whenever you're ready, sir.
I am just curious. I want to find out how things work. I follow my nose. One thing leads to another, and I don't know what I will find next.
Now I think I would like to retreat a little bit into poetry myself, because it's nearly 150 years ago since Matthew Arnold wrote his splendid poem, The Future. But what was before us we know not, and we know not what will succeed. Well, perhaps if Professor Hawking's magnificent vision and curiosity is realized, we'll have proved Matthew Arnold wrong before the 150 years are up. Gentlemen, to all of you, to Professor Stephen Hawking, to Dr. Arthur C. Clarke, to you, Carl Sagan in America, our warmest thanks to all three of you. And to all of you watching, good night.
So that's what I like about this show. I see some over the weekend. I'm just talking about it. It's like, I think this might be bullshit. Who's out there? Oh, Neil deGrasse Tyson's out there. Let's bring him in, and he'll talk about how fucking much horseshit that is.
Yeah, you
Flat
just
Earth.
missed Mos Def and Elvis Costello. They were here too. And
Oh,
they just
see,
walked
I
out.
should. Oh man, how did that happen? Missed that.
And so I cry sometimes when I'm lying in bed just to get it all out what's in my head. And I feel it, a little peculiar. And so I wake in the morning and I step outside and I take a deep breath and get real high. And I see from the top of my nose what's going on. And I say, tries. Oh my God, do I try? I try all the time in this institution. And he prays. Oh my God, do I pray? I pray to say good things. For the show. And I say, hey, I say, what's going on? And I say, just keep it inside. Learn how to hide your feelings.
There are a group of people that absolutely and honestly believe in 2016 the Earth is flat.